Hi everyone and welcome to part 3 of the Pink Panther tutorial. As always, let me first feature my top tier patrons and let me welcome Valerie among them as one of the new guys. If you want early access to new tutorials or you want access to notation and tablature files, then please head over to the Patreon page. If you want to make a contribution to the channel without joining up for monthly fees, there is a PayPal donate link down below in the description. I hope you guys are ready for a difficulty spike, because parts 1 and 2 were somewhat moderate in tempo. In part 3, Tommy is going full double time and he is not holding back. That means that some people who have been able to learn parts 1 and 2 might feel that this is beyond their abilities. For those people, I have included a little workaround section at the beginning of this video just to show you a way how you can conclude parts 1 and 2 without having to learn the whole double time section as well. There is just one mistake I made after recording the tutorial. I decided to split it into 2 parts as well, so the double time section will be covered in parts 3 and 4 of the tutorial. I do mention learning the ending right away in the video, but for that ending you will have to wait until I publish part 4, which will be done next week. Now in the meantime, get to work on the first double time section and don't forget to have fun. Now, before we continue on to the solo section or the double time section, I first want to address just a little maybe something that can help people who don't feel up to the challenge of the double time section, but still want a method or a way in which they can conclude the first 2 parts with some sort of an ending. So you ended the last tutorial with that blues lick, and then follow it up by the double tempo lick. Now, if you feel like you're not up to the double time section, it's too difficult, there's too much going on, then leave out that first double time lick as well. Just end that last verse on the blues lick, including the last bar you used after the first verse. So that full blues lick. And then follow it up by the full chorus, just the exact same thing you played as I explained it in the second part of the tutorial. Just all the way through. When you enter back into that intro lick, just skip ahead down below in the chapters all the way to the ending section, just so you can learn the last 4 bars. That way you can play the first verse, the chorus, the second verse, again a chorus as a repeat, and then just add the ending and you can play the Pink Panther in full without having to learn the whole double time section. Now for those of you who are up for the challenge of the double time section, let's have a look at that. Now let me be clear straight up from the beginning. For this section, you need a decent technique. You need a good picking technique. You need to have a good grasp on hammer-ons, pull-offs and slides and how to perform them in tempo. And all of that has to be mixed with switching all the time from chords back to a lead section, back to chords, back to a lead section. Now, this solo section is made up out of 12 bars, and Tommy plays 4 choruses in total, so you are up for 48 bars of soloing. Now there is so much going on in these bars that I can't go over each and every note in detail. So I'm going to go over the fingerings. I'm going to pay some special attention to specific fingerings that I think are easy to miss if you're not really paying attention or watching out to what you're doing in the left hand. And then I'm just going to try and guide you through the tricky sections as best as possible. I'm going to divide the solo into sections of 12 bars each time. I'm going to play through the first section now, just a bit below concert speed, so you can get a good first look at what is going on, and then I'll explain all the tricky bits in that first part. Now, let's have a look. Here we go. the first 12 bars. Now, let's have a look. We already had a look at that double time lick, the transition from the last verse into the double time section. So for this part, if you missed that, you have to check back at the ending of part 2. Now the solo begins with a simple bass line. Tommy plays a few percussive hits in between or on those bass notes. Not really something that specific, so it just adds them in to push the tempo a little bit harder. Slide back to that same C9 chord with the G in the bass. We already saw that in the first 2 parts of the verse and the intro. Then, now for this part, slide up. I can't remember by heart if Tommy uses the ring finger or the pinky on top. What I do know is that he picks all of these notes apart from the slide. And I like to use a pull-off on top. From that 5th fret back to that 3rd fret. Whether you use the pinky or the ring finger, I slide up with the ring finger. And then often with the pinky or the ring finger, doesn't even matter. But what is important that when you come back to that 3rd fret, don't fret that note just on the high E string, but fret that note with the underside of the index finger so you can drop down a bar to the G string as well. You'll need this to transfer to the next string right away. See? So for that section, sliding up, I use a pull-off from the pinky to the 3rd fret, but make sure there is a bar across 3 strings. Then lift up the bar, so the high E string stops ringing out, and then you slide down from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret. Then to the ring finger or the pinky, whatever works for you. But especially that roll across 3 strings, so coming from the high E string to the G string, that is something that needs to be prepared with the correct fingering. Just a quick E chord right in front of the first beat, and then we're off into a longer single note section. 2 times the exact same lick, starting with the ring finger on the 5th fret, sliding up and down, then a pull-off. And then there is something I thought I needed to fix. In Tommy's version, he plays this lick a 3rd time, which seems like a mistake, something he was just going for it, and he plays this lick a 3rd time. And then he jumps over to the 10th fret and plays a really long and winding lick based around a C dominant 7th chord. But to me, it seems as if he played a little mistake, because if I transcribe the exact timing as he played it on his version, then I'm ending up with a bar of 5 quarter notes instead of 4, and the whole timing of this lick doesn't really make sense if I transcribe it exactly the way he plays it. Now, if I play that very first note of that next lick on the first beat, then it makes total sense. So what I did is I left out that last lick, and I just replaced it with a slide going from the 5th fret to the 10th fret. This is what Tommy plays. And then quickly he goes up, but there is 1 beat too many in that bar. What I did and what I think sounds better, and I'm not doing this so I can tell that I know better than Tommy Emmanuel, but it really feels like just a little timing mistake in an improvisation where he's really going for it. This is what I think sounds more logical. Then going into that long single note lick. If you just want to play it the exact same way Tommy does, then repeat that first lick 3 times. And then go up and play the exact same thing. Throughout the tutorial, I'm going to stick to the version in the way I just changed that 1 note. It just makes more sense to keep everything in a bar of 4 and make the timing flow just a little bit easier. So 2 times that same lick. then from the 5th fret sliding up to the 10th fret, and then a long and winding lick. And that's your first quarter note, so everything else is straight 8 notes. Tommy picks most of these notes, only a pull-off on the second one. Pulling off to the 8th fret with the middle finger, and then everything else is picked. And that's the next technique he puts in a slide. I like to add in a lot more hammer-ons. I'm no jazz swing player. Tommy has an incredible sense of timing. When I try to pick all of these notes, it really doesn't flow as it should. So I add in a few hammer-ons, a few pull-offs, a few slides here and there, just to make it flow a little bit better. There is only one thing to watch out for. So you're starting out with pinky to the 11th fret, index finger, middle finger, and now index finger on the 8th fret going down to the 7th fret, and the rest of the lick is all in 7th position using the pinky. And again with the index finger sliding down 1 fret to go to the 6th position, then the 5th, and then all the way down the neck. So the beginning of the lick is in 8th position, down to 7th position, then going for a full E minor arpeggio. So remember that E minor chord we could recognize in almost the entire verse melody section. It pops up again here. 6th fret, 8th fret, 6th fret, down 1 fret, and down 2 frets. 3 times the exact same. And then from there on into the next lick. Now, what I like to do, if you find it difficult to get the flow of this lick right, then just put in a few hammer-ons and slides. What I do is, so pull off, slide, hammer on, and everything else stays the same. So just see what works for you. If I can give one point of advice, is always initiate the hammer-ons, the pull-offs, the slides in between the beats and aim towards the beat. That will actually make the swing feel a little bit easier. So not, 3, 4, 1, 2. So not pulling off on the beat and then landing in between the beats, but rather the other way around. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. See, so each technique I do, 1, 2, 3. If you put in the pull-offs, make sure you initiate them in between the beats and aim for the beat to land on. 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on. Let me play that full lick one more time, starting from down below. I'm gonna play it really slowly so you can have a good look. 3, 4, 1. Just a quick pull-off lick, something similar we already played in the beginning. So starting from the 5th fret, pulling off to the 3rd fret and an open string. Same thing on the E string. Same thing on the G string, but starting from the 4th fret to the 2nd fret to an open string, and then pull off from the 2nd fret to an open string, pull off from the 2nd fret to an open string, again on the A string, and then ending up on the low G for that same C9th chord with the G in the bass we used before. Really slowly. Then going for a B dominant 7th chord with a raised 9th, like the Jimi Hendrix chord, and then flattening the pinky on top for a raised 5th as well. So you get second fret, first fret, second fret, and then a little bar with the pinky. So middle finger, index, ring finger, and then the pinky across 2 strings. So ending up on a low E, open E string, and that is the first note of the next solo section. So those were the first 12 bars. Going to play through them one time really slowly, then on to the next 12 bars. Here we go. To the next section of 12. One time, a little bit below concert speed, and then we'll have a look again. Was again the next chord or the first chord of the next part. Now we are starting out with a little bass line based around an E minor chord. Only thing to watch out for there is that little bar across 2 strings. So a hammer onto the middle finger, then a little bar across 2 strings, ending up on the pinky. Try to play this with the pinky, not the ring finger, so your hand stays in the same position. 2 times. The exact same thing. Then we're moving down to the A string and playing basically the same thing, but we will be leading straight into the next lick. So just a quick look. So same bass line to start out with, then to the pinky on the 5th fret, ending up on the blue note at B flat on the 3rd fret, playing around a few times with the hammer-ons, and then sliding up to the 3rd position, so moving up the middle finger to the 4th fret, so we end up in 3rd position with the index finger for the next lick. One more time, that A minor bass line. So a large section of that A minor bass line is played with the index finger, middle finger, and pinky. Heading straight for that high E string with a little blues curl on the 3rd fret. So pulling off from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret to an open string, putting back down the index finger on the 2nd fret, but again you'll have to do some preparation for a few notes in advance. So instead of putting the index finger straight down, we're going to place it down using a little bar across 2 strings, across the G string and the D string. Same trick, so using that little bar, we're rolling down to the D string, releasing the G string, so we get an open G note too. So make sure I'm going to try to keep my other fingers out of the way. And then pulling off to an open string again. Same pull off on the A string. And again, ending back up on that low G string. And what are we going to play? Again, that C9th chord we played before. Moving back to that B dominant 7th chord with the raised 9th and the raised 5th. And now we're just going to add a lot more chords, just a little bit more rhythm, but the chord shapes are the exact same thing. Time with the counting 3, 4. Straight into a bass line again around an E minor chord. Tommy plays this a little bit muted, and sometimes he likes to accentuate the backbeat a little bit. And then with a little bar across the 5th fret, heading for the 8th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret, this is a C dominant 7th chord. So what is happening is just playing a C dominant 7th chord, A bass note, G bass note, and then a D flat dominant 7th triad, moving down 1 fret to a C dominant triad, using the middle finger, index finger and ring finger. And what he does in the last bar, it looks more difficult on paper than it actually is. He plays that C chord and he's basically strumming up and down all the time, playing a bass note on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so he's doing 1, 2, 3, 4, while strumming chords in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what he's doing is a full downstroke on the complete triad, then an upstroke while you move to the bass string, another upstroke on the chord section, and then the exact same thing on the C bass note again. So that was again the first chord of the next section already. So 2 sections down and 2 more to go. Let me play this section one more time really slowly. Here we go. That's all you need to know to play those first 24 bars of the solo. Next week I'll be posting the tutorial for the next 24 bars as well as the ending of the song. In the meantime, have fun working on this one and see you next week. Bye bye.